So I'm Steve.
I'm Riley.
Tax Force is our company. What's the segment called? The segment's called Teaching Riley.
You operate your business out of your home.
Yes. Yep.
But normally employees don't really kind of qualify in that. But this year they do.
Yeah. When you're working from home, there is a tax deduction that you can get for that.
Right. So there's a lot of people who don't normally work from home, who are working from home now, might not know about this.
Yeah.
So we just want to make sure employees know what they need and employers know what they need to provide their employees with.
Right. And the information is has a lot of similarities to either renting to your corporation or operating a business out of your home. And so this video is going to cover all of those things because there is a lot of similarity there. You do have to get a letter from your employer, a special form from your employer to say that you are required to work from home.
Okay.
That's definitely one of the things that you need to have.
But normally you also have to have it in your employment contract, and that's not going to be a thing, right? They don't have to update your employment contract.
That's right. This year they're saying because of COVID, your employment contract doesn't have to be changed, but you do have to have the Form T-2200, Declaration of Employment Conditions. The expenses are going to be a lot the same as if you were in business for yourself. But you can keep track of, operational expenses. So again, mortgage interest, property taxes, rent if you don't have either of those, heat, hydro, water bill, insurance.
Okay.
Right? Potentially a home phone if you still have one of those.
You do.
I have a fax line too. That's why. It's actually because of the fax line. There are some more special rules if you earn commission versus getting paid a salary.
Okay.
There are a couple of different things that belong on there that you're able to write off. But yeah, it's going to be a big deduction for tax filing for the 2020 year.
Right.
So many people are working from home.
Right.
These are expenses that you're going to want to have totaled up and know what those are when you're going to your accountant or your tax preparer to get your work done, or if you're doing it yourself.
So short answer, yes. If you are working from home, you can definitely write that off. Just make sure you're keeping track of your expenses. And
and the same level of test as far as you have to have all the invoices, you have to have access to all those, whether it's online, you've saved a picture of them or you've saved the actual receipt. You definitely have to have all those because if the government wants to review it, they want to see the proof that these have been your costs, as well as the calculation on how you've arrived at, this is the percentage of these that I've used.
Okay.
Right? So, and again, it has to go back to, so many people are working out of their bedroom or from their kitchen table, that obviously is also where they're sleeping and where they're eating.
So it can get complicated doing that math.
It a little bit, but at the end of the day, we need to go back to something that's reasonable, right? So, I'm using this space. If you're writing off somewhere between 5 and 25%, depending on the size of your house, the kind of operation that you have, and you've got a methodical, this is how I've arrived at this, right? You're probably got a good chance of winning under review.
Right.
And again, you think about things that are outside of just the space that you're occupying, because again, any working space not only has the desk space that you're working in, but you've got a bathroom, right? A boardroom or a kitchen potentially, right? Because people need to, offices almost always have that kind of space, parking space, storage space for files. So, don't go to the nth degree again. That's where you're going to get in trouble and try to say, wow, I've added all this up and it's a high number. But when you're trying to arrive at that number, and you again say, if you're doubling your bedroom as your office and your bedroom is 10% of the square footage of your house, an argument could be, well, I'm writing off 10% because that's the space that I take up. And the argument back from the auditor could be, well, but it's also your bedroom. You say, yes, it is also my bedroom. However, my office also has a bathroom and a kitchen and a boardroom and storage room and parking.
Right.
And all of those things are in addition to this 10%. So while I could try to figure all that out, I figured that, the bedroom's 10% of the square footage. You got to subtract some because it's also a bedroom, but then we could add some back for all of these other things. And therefore 10% seemed like a reasonable number to come up with. And when you've got that kind of argument, my experience has been most often the auditors are like, yep, okay, that does seem reasonable. Now, things that don't belong in here. Capital expenditures. Okay. So if you got a new roof, you can't write that off.
Right.
If you've built an office in your home, we generally don't write that off. Other capital expenses, if you're buying furniture, a desk, a filing cabinet, things like that, those can be written off, not all in the same year. They have to be depreciated, right? And we've talked about that in other videos.
Right.
But if you've bought stuff specifically to furnish your office,
even if you're an employee, like you're not
even if you're an employee under certain circumstances, yes, you can depreciate those things under certain circumstances.
Okay.
Yeah.
Plus, this year we have the $500 credit kind of thing that you can do as well if you wanted to buy some stuff for your office.
Right. An employer can give you $500 to spend on your office. That's right. And that's not taxable income to you and is tax deductible to the employer.
Which we did another video about. But just worth mentioning, if we're talking about home offices, you might be able to kind of, upgrade some things.
Right, and certainly if, not all employers are going to know about this. So if you're watching this and you're like, hey, my boss hasn't told me about this yet.
They might not know.
Yeah, they might not know. It might genuinely be something you need, and it's worth having a conversation with your boss.
You could just send them a link to our video about it that we did and just kind of slide it over to them discreetly, like, here's a hint for something you could do,
If you are an employee that has worked from home this year, you need to make sure that when you get your T4 this year, that you're also getting the T2200.
Right.
That's going to be an important form to have. It has to be signed by your employer.
So you might have to ask your employer for that if they don't think of it themselves.
Exactly. That's right. So a lot of small employers might not realize that that's part of the forms that they have to give out.
Right.
Conversely, if you are an employer and your employees are working from home, make sure
get them these forms.
Get them these forms. Their employees are going to appreciate a couple of things. I think that getting your T4s out early this year so that people can figure out their tax liability.
Right.
I'm afraid that there's not going to be a lot of refunds this year because the government did supply a lot of funds to people that weren't taxed. The whole CERB was not taxed. So people are going to want to figure out kind of where their liability lies, if they are going to get any money back. And that can only start once you get your T4s out. And this T2200 is also helped. You don't need that to figure it out, but you need that to apply.